It's finally happened. The Marlins have signed a major league free agent. Pitcher Cal Quantrill is the newest addition to the Miami Marlins. I'm going to talk about that on today's emergency episode of Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. You can find me at Jeremiah Geiger2 over on X. And thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Second episode of the day, guys. I had to break it down. Cal Quantrill, the first major league free agent the Marlins have signed since last offseason, when the Marlins, of course, signed Tim Anderson. We're hoping it goes a little bit better this go around. It is a much needed addition to the pitching staff. Of course, a while back, the Miami Herald had an article which suggested that the Marlins were going to be looking for a veteran or two in free agency to fill up their rotation and to provide that depth that they've been looking for with the rotation that, besides Sandy Alcantara, is fairly young and inexperienced. They get their guy, the Marlins, Cal Quantrill, coming over from the Colorado Rockies. Last season, 29 starts, 4.98 ERA, 148 innings, and this is also pitching at Coors Field. So the numbers don't jump off the page. He was available in free agency, available for a cheap one-year deal, which is exactly what I expected the Marlins to do. Sign somebody. There wasn't going to be a multi-year deal or anything like that, but it's a good opportunity for Quantrill to bounce back and kind of have a resurgence in his career. If you look back, 2021 and 2022, he was very productive as a Cleveland Guardian. He had an ERA of 2.89 in 21 with 22 starts, over 149 innings. In 2022, he went 15-5 in 32 starts with a 3.38 ERA, 186 innings. So at that point in time, you were looking at Cal Quantrill as a legit mid-rotation starter. He was very productive. And then in 2023, so 2 years ago, the production just kind of jumps off the cliff and his ERA balloons over 5. He sticks with Colorado. Last year was his first year in Colorado, and the ERA still hovering around 5. But of course, it's very difficult to pitch in Colorado with the elevation and the way the ball just flies there. So comes over to Miami, an opportunity to regain confidence in himself, reestablish himself as a threat in the rotation, and really provide much needed insurance to the Marlins organization. The Marlins have a lot of young pitchers, Max Meyer, Edward Cabrera, of course, Ryan Weathers, who have struggled to stay healthy over the years. So when I look at this signing, it is exactly what the Marlins needed from the rotation standpoint. Get a veteran in here, somebody who can give you 150, 160 innings and provide that protection for your young guys. Because we saw last year, there is absolutely no guarantee that everybody stays healthy. In fact, it's unlikely to. Health is just such a fragile thing when it comes to pitching in the major leagues. We saw last year the rotation was absolutely decimated. The Marlins went through tons of pitchers. They were signing guys, bringing up guys from minor league deals. We had Kyle Tyler, Valente Bayozo. They were all making multiple starts for the Marlins, guys who you probably didn't hear of at the beginning of the season. So to bring in a veteran to provide those innings and eat up those innings was a huge, important piece of the Marlins offseason, and they waited all offseason to do it. In fact, today is the first day, of course, of pitchers and catchers working out down in Jupiter. So Cal Quantrill is going to slide right in there, get a full spring training, be able to go through his progressions and his workouts and conditioning, and of course, slot right into the opening day rotation. So what does the Marlins opening day rotation look like now with the addition of Quantrill? So if I'm looking at it, obviously Sandy, opening day starter, he's the ace, he's locked in, he's not going anywhere right now. Behind him, you have Ryan Weathers, who's going to slot in. I think Cal Quantrill is the number 3. And then the 4 and 5 starters, this is where the Marlins have talent, but there are a lot of questions. And the 4 and 5 starters, you have guys competing like Edward Cabrera, Max Meyer, Valente Bellozo. Adam Major is another guy down in AAA who will be competing for a roster spot for that 5th and final spot. But you're not ultimately depending on the inconsistencies of Edward Cabrera and Max Meyer to close out the rotation without any further options. Now you have choices, you have depth to pick from, where if it doesn't work out with Max Meyer, he's not necessarily forced to start in every 5th day. So it's a great signing for the Marlins. They absolutely needed this. And I'm hoping Quantrill can get back to that form he pitched in Cleveland a few years ago. So on that 1-year deal, if the Marlins do end up being uncompetitive and they're at the trade deadline, they can flip him. They can flip him for a couple prospects, and it's a win-win for Miami. It's a win for Cal Quantrill, getting to rebound on his major league career and really start this new chapter, because we see the talent. We have seen the production from him in the past. It's all about getting back to that and staying healthy. So with the rotation now, it's interesting. It's very interesting as we head into the thick of spring training. Games are just about 10 days away. The first Grapefruit League game for the Marlins is February 22nd. So games will be starting in about a week and a half. Could not be more excited for it. Quantrill is a ground ball pitcher. He's, just to give you a little bit more insight on what he brings to the Marlins, he's a sinker splitter guy mainly. Those are his 2 go-to pitches. So he doesn't miss a lot of bats. He's going to keep the ball on the ground, and you like to see that. We saw that with the addition of Ronnie Henriquez, who I talked about in my last episode, as being a guy who keeps the ball on the ground. I think Henriquez has more swing and miss stuff than Quantrill does, but of course, Quantrill has produced at the major league level as a starter. So keeping the ball, ground ball pitcher, nothing too flashy, but at his peak, he can be productive. That is what you need. We didn't need anything super expensive, no multi-year deal. It's cheap. You can flip him at the deadline. And now there's the question of that 5th and final spot. Who does that go to? I'm going to be discussing the rotation and what that means moving forward in tomorrow's episode. But right now, just know that Quantrill is a solid addition who provides that depth, ground ball pitcher, and give kudos to Peter Bendix for going out and spending money, and Bruce Sherman for at least doing something. There were a bunch of jokes running around that Peter Bendix and the Marlins front office and ownership were totally checked out. They weren't spending anything. It was a frustrating time, but they do spend at least something, so we can head into spring training saying that the Marlins at least have signed a major league free agent. Coming up after the break, I'm going to talk to you more about this signing, as well as the first day and what I've seen early on, very early on, with the pitchers and the catchers both reporting to Jupiter. That's coming up next. This episode is brought to you by wonderful Pistachios. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. The no shells variety is a go-to. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether you're snacking at your desk, on a road trip, or you just need a quick protein boost, they're always a complete go-to and they never fail. If you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options, of course, are a classic favorite also. And Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein. They provide all 9 amino acids, pack a protein punch, no shells with that grab and go ease, and the satisfying crack of opening each shell. It's like snack meditation. Whether you're running between meetings or dropping off the kids, Wonderful Pistachios are the snack that works as hard as you do. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Locked On Marlins Emergency Podcast Edition. Quickly breaking down the Cal Quantrill signing, what that means for the Marlins. Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comment section. Do you like the signing? Should they have targeted somebody else? If you're like me, you're excited because it's been too long since the Marlins have been active in free agency. Again, the first major league signing all the way since last season, 2024, when they signed Tim Anderson. That did not work out at all, by the way. But it's all about positivity right now. I love what the Marlins have done with this acquisition. And moving forward, it's going to be awesome to see spring training. Pitchers and catchers reported today, and they're working already. Clayton McCullough already saying, hey, we are throwing off the mounds. We are throwing to live hitters. There are plenty of videos out there if you're curious as to see players in action, prospects in action. Get to see Starlin Caba working in the hitting cages right on the field. We get to see Sandy Alcantara pitching a live session to Derek Hill. So Sandy Alcantara feels great to be back out there. And it's great. It is awesome to see baseball is finally back. And now there is a new addition to the organization who will be hopefully starting a lot for the Marlins and being productive, because Edward Cabrera and Max Meyer are inconsistent. They are very hard to rely on. And you could argue that this really is their last chance, their last go around to be a starter in a Marlins uniform. I know Edward Cabrera has been a source of frustration for many Marlins fans in terms of he just can't put it all together. Super talented guy, swing and miss stuff, but the command issues have plagued him throughout his entire career. Max Meyer, is he a starter? Should he go to the bullpen? That's a source of debate. So whatever happens with them, it feels like Cal Quantrill will be able to slide right in if, in fact, the Marlins decide, hey, we need to move in a different direction than Max Meyer or Edward Cabrera in the rotation. Valente Belloso will still be competing for a pitching spot in the rotation. I would not be surprised if Belloso, in fact, comes onto the 26-man roster as that fifth starter. I would not be surprised at that at all. But the rotation, guys, it's kind of intriguing when you look at a talent standpoint. And it makes me even more excited that the Marlins have added to it. They didn't stay complacent. They saw what they did last year when they didn't add a veteran starter. They said, we're going to keep the guys internally. We're going to roll with what we have. And of course, Yuri Perez ended up going down just about this time. Sandy Alcantara was already lost for the season. And then we saw injuries to Braxton and Ryan Weathers and inconsistencies across the board. It was a complete disaster from a pitching perspective. So it's great to see the Marlins being proactive in the free agency market. Cheap deal. Nonetheless, that is what you need at this point in time. Pitchers and catchers will still be working. If you are curious as to what what they're doing, check out all the videos that are being sent out. There's great content out there on X. We have the guys from Fish on First who are covering the team daily down there. They are sending videos, posting them. It's great to see the guys back in action and working, immediately going at it. The tone is set. They're working hard. There's going to be no gimmies, going to be no hand-me-outs in spring training. I like that about Clayton McCullough already. He's here to work, comes over from LA, defending World Series champions, and he knows what it takes to win and to build a winning culture. That starts with the first day of workouts. It's not just a thing you walk into. The very first day, you want to see these guys working and grinding and getting better every single day. And now Cal Quantrill is going to be coming in and doing the exact same thing. I'm going to be back again tomorrow, guys. This was an emergency edition of Locked On Marlins. I want to thank you guys for listening. Reminder, the comments are open. Leave your thoughts down below, and let's go Fish.